Greetings and welcome to the Beauty Out of Maya channel. My name is Reverend Dr. Fidel Adabaraza and I'm very excited to have you on this channel. If this conversation blesses your heart, kindly like, share and subscribe. Let somebody else be inspired as you are. Now, today's lesson, we want to look at something very important: why inclusion fails when systems do not change. You see, many people say they believe in inclusion. Schools say they are inclusive. Churches say everyone is welcome. Communities say they accept all children. But the real test of inclusion is not what we say. The real test is what happens when a child with support needs actually shows up. What happens when a child cannot sit still? What happens when they communicate differently? What happens when the child is overwhelmed by noise? What happens when the child learns slowly? What happens when the child needs more time, more support, more structure, or more patience? And that is where we discover whether inclusion is real or only a slogan. Inclusion fails when we welcome children with our words but reject them with our systems. It fails when a school admits a child but does not train the teacher. It fails when a church says children are welcome but has no plan for Sunday school support. It fails when a community says disability is accepted but still whispers and stares. It fails when policies exist on paper but do not treat the child in the classroom, the church hall, the clinic, the playground, or the home. And it fails when we don't even have a policy altogether. It fails when parents are told, bring your child, but no one speaks or asks, what support does your child actually need? True inclusion requires change. It requires change in attitude, change in environment, in training, communication, expectations, and planning. A child with autism may need sensory awareness. A child with ADD, ADHD may need movement breaks, structure, patient guidance. And a child with dyslexia may need alternative ways of learning and assessment. A child with cerebral palsy may need physical access and adapted support. And a child with epilepsy may need safety awareness. A child with intellectual disability may need simplified instructions, repetition, patience, and dignity. A child with sensory processing challenges may need a quieter space. Inclusion does not mean every child receives the same thing. No. Inclusion means every child receives what helps them participate meaningfully. And that is where many systems fail. They confuse sameness with fairness. Fairness is not giving every child the same support. Fairness is giving each child the support they need to access opportunity. And this is why teacher training matters. A teacher cannot support what they do not understand. This is why church worker training matters. A Sunday school teacher cannot include well when they have never been taught how to respond to neurodivergent children. And this is why family education matters. A relative cannot support a child well if they still believe disability is shame, punishment, poor parenting, misfortune, witchcraft, or sorcery. And this is why policy implementation matters. A beautiful policy document does not help a child if it never changes the classroom, the church hall, the playground, the clinic, or the community. And at Beauty Out of Maya, we believe inclusion must move from sympathy to structure. Not just we feel sorry, not just we are praying, not just we love children, but what are we changing? Are we training teachers? Are we supporting caregivers? Are we adapting learning environments? Are we creating sensory sensitive spaces? Are we reducing stigma? Are we building referral pathways? Are we making information accessible? Are we involving parents in decisions? Are we preparing schools? churches, communities to receive children with dignity, because inclusion without preparation can become another form of rejection. When a parent brings a child into a space that claims to be inclusive, but the people are unprepared, the parent often leaves more wounded than before. So we must stop asking parents to adjust alone. Systems must also adjust. Schools must ask, how do we teach differently? Churches must ask, how do we welcome differently? Communities must ask, how do we support differently? Leaders must ask, how do we fund and implement inclusion differently? And families must ask, how do we advocate with wisdom and courage? Let me say this clearly. Inclusion is not charity. Inclusion is dignity. Inclusion is justice. Inclusion is opportunity. Inclusion is belonging translated into action. And parents, if your child has been rejected by a system that was not prepared, I want you to know this. The rejection does not define your child's worth. Sometimes the child is not the failure. Sometimes the system was not ready. And teachers, your willingness to learn can change a child's life. Church leaders, your willingness to prepare can heal a family's pain. And policy makers, your willingness to implement can open doors for thousands. Dear communities and community member, your willingness to stop stigma can make a home safer for a child. And as we close today's lesson, remember this: inclusion fails when systems remain unchanged. But when systems learn, adapt, and support, children begin to flourish. Thank you very much for joining me today on the Beauty Out of Maya channel. I'm Reverend Dr. Fidel Adabaraza, and if this conversation has challenged your heart, kindly like, subscribe, and share it. Someone else may need to hear about this story and influence a school, a church, an organization, or a family community. And until next time, keep it beauty out of Maya. God bless you.